What does it mean to be separated from your mother's womb? God is not a respecter of persons anyway. And there, there are some people that feel some people's destiny is more special than others. But there are few people in scriptures that I discovered it was written that they were separated from their mother's womb. An example is Paul, an example is Jeremiah, and the last of them, I believe, is Jesus Christ. That of Jeremiah, God told him, he said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you came out of the womb, I sanctified you and I ordained you a prophet unto the nations. And Jeremiah made a statement. He said, I cannot speak, for I'm a child. And the Lord said to him, say not I'm a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send you. And whatsoever I command you, thou shalt speak. And he told him not to be afraid. If you see that of Jesus, the same thing played out right from birth. At the age of 12, he told his parents, he said, don't you know I should be about my father's business? So from birth, he was separated. He knew his purpose. Even at a young age, he was able to tell what he has been separated onto. And that of Paul, we see the case of Paul in Galatians chapter 1, I believe that should be verse 7 or 8, when he said, until the time that is pleased God to separate me from my mother's womb, to preach the word. So there are certain people who have that witnessing in them, or who have that witnessing, and it's not to be biased anyway, but every child of God has a purpose. But I'm speaking to somebody who is, who has that witnessing. When you are called or separated from your mother's womb, I can see there are some factors, there are some things you used to know. Number one, from birth, you discover that these people are special. Their birth is not normal. Most times they are born out of, on unusual situations, unusual time. Even the circumstances around their birth, you know that this one this one has been called from the womb. An example is Samuel. He was separated from the womb. So, and there's this sense of, this sense of knowing in these people. They know that they are special. They don't see themselves as ordinary. Another thing that you used to know someone who is separated from his mother's womb, that person is not permitted to do any other thing. Is not permitted to do things anyhow, because there is a factor there. There is the strong hand of God is upon that child. An example is that of Samson. He was separated from the womb. And if you read the book of Psalms, Judges, I believe chapter 13, if you read verse 8, the Bible said the Spirit of God began to move Samson in the camp of Dan. So there is a hand of God upon such people that begin to move them, carries them. It is God that orchestrates them. It is God that dictates their steps. God carries them. God commands them. God orders them. So they can't just do anything. And the third thing that you expect from those who are separated from the womb is that God does not spare them from punishment. When they go contrary to the will of God, there is a punishment. God does not take time to stretch a rod of correction on them, because you cannot expect the shovel to do what a shovel to be used to cut firewood. So when they go out of line, there is a immediate correction, because they are trying to function outside of where God has ordained for them. And the fourth thing is that their trials in life are something that is unusual. That of Paul. Paul, we saw how the kind of trials that he passed through. Look at Samson. If you see that of Jeremiah, there is no hiding place for somebody who is separated from the womb. Jeremiah at a point said, I don't want to speak, but his word was in me as fire shut up in my bones. So most times, those who have been called, those who are called from the womb, they are called to endure trials. They are called to endure trials. Just like Jeremiah, God told him, eat scroll. Sometimes he was called to eat wormwood. The book of Lamentation was written by Jeremiah because he was separated unto that purpose. He saw his friends trying to do some things, but no, he couldn't, because there is a pool of destiny that was on him. And the last sign is that these people prosper in anything they do before they discover what God has called them to. They prosper in those things. So most times the ones who discover late, they prosper. And when they discover what they have been separated onto, they become exceptional and excellent in that. An example of a man I believe God called from the womb is Zacchaeus. I heard the story according to Christian tradition that you know how Zacchaeus was called as God's apostle. The end of Zacchaeus, he became the bishop of Antioch. That's a man who climbed the tree to see Jesus. A man from nowhere hosted Jesus Christ. There was this calling from the womb. And according to some Christian tradition, it was said that Prophet Agabus was Zacchaeus. See where God shut him up to. So being separated from the womb is a very sensitive matter. And those who are separated from the womb have nothing else they can do than to do what they have been separated. The greatest tragedy is when somebody who is separated from the mother's womb is entangled with another person who is not. It's not a joking matter to be separated from your mother's womb. Let's see our life that way. And I see this will help many people to avoid some unnecessary losses, unnecessary gambling with their destiny, and unnecessary wasting of their time, and discovering that they were separated from the womb and they wasted their life doing what they were not separated onto. The Lord will bless.